Welcome, everybody. We are back, the Wednesday Night Live crew. Brian will be joining us here shortly, but the rest of the boys are here. Fuck you, Tom is here. Tim is here. And myself. Hello, gentlemen. How's everybody doing tonight? Timmy boy, how are you doing?
You know what? I'm actually shocked. I looked down for my mute button and it wasn't there. I was like, it went on the fritz like right before. I'm doing well. I'm a little nervous right now. Sorry to all the fans in the chat. I'm hanging on strong in the third period for the Washington Capitals.
Oh, I was gonna say nervous. How are you nervous?
No, it's hockey's a nail biter. I get it. Anything can happen in a very short period of time. But when you got a tie game and you're going into overtime. You could be. I mean, we got 7 minutes left. So if I look really bright tonight, it's not just because I decided to change the lighting. I'm actually, the TV is on in front of me.
Will you be popping a beverage if they win tonight?
No, we're still early in the series. Right now it's games are tied at 1. Winner of this one takes the lead in the series. So we best of 7. So we got some games to go. So I'm not. I don't want to panic, and I don't want to over celebrate now. Is what I'm trying to say.
Tim is talking about hockey, guys. Just so you know, I don't know.
But wait, but vaping and hockey go hand in hand. So I mean, there's
what is that correlation?
Yeah, I'm curious
because
now.
I probably should go to like 50 milligrams just straight out of the gate, and you probably vape a lot more mils watching hockey.
Oh yeah.
So
I think more just watching the show. Tommy boy.
Yo.
What is Mr. Tom doing tonight?
Oh, just, doing this whole little YouTube thing.
This whole little YouTube thing.
Well, that's what I'm doing.
He's doing the YouTube thing, man. He's doing
Zachary, you weren't listening to what John said.
Brian is running late.
Brian is running late. He'll be here shortly. He
with a $300 fine.
Yeah, he's up to $300, but he started a new job, so he's got a different time schedule. So he just gets off. I think he gets off right when the show starts. So he needs some time to, we don't want to piss off Brian. So we give him time to. What is the right word to use there? What is that term? Not chillax, but to decompress. We give him Brian some time to decompress from work. We don't want him yelling at us like he does his customers at his work. So we got a great show for you guys tonight. Tim has got, I don't know if Tim, do you have any? Yes, look at this paper. He's got paper. Tim's got paper.
This is called being prepared. You guys think I just probably have blank white paper, and I do that for the sake of the show. But
honestly, that is what I thought.
There are words, and look, it's even got like highlighting on it.
Yeah, son of a bitch highlighted that shit. Yeah. I thought for sure this whole time those pages that were blank that you were flipping.
It would be great if they were blank. That would certainly show off some serious talent. But unfortunately, I do need to refer to my notes.
Yeah.
Hello, Phil.
We're going to start a GoFundMe program to get us all teleprompters, so we can have teleprompters.
That would be awesome. You know what? I bet you there's probably an application or something you can download, and you can probably have it right on your screen. It would not surprise me if you can't do something right on your screen.
I have a teleprompter. I just don't have the video card strength anymore to run it and the monitors. So I tried it, and it just everything just gets wigged out. My video card's like
now, see, when I do my segment, I have a little spot on my screen that I just put what I typed up, and it sits right there. So I just look at it, and it's right there.
Yeah, what's like 3 fucking sentences? Come on, Tom.
It's more than that.
Wait, hold on 1 second. Can you pop up that last statement from Zachary right there?
Right there, that one?
No. The one there you go. Zach, forgive me if I'm wrong. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but where did you buy those mollicells from? Did you get them from Lion?
I don't know.
Because I think I was the one that was telling you about the mollicells at Lion Wholesale. And you're right. They are cheap batteries, but they're good batteries.
Yeah. They're bad.
Yeah, they're a really good value battery.
Yeah. Good battery.
And I have 9 things on my list today, fucker.
I know. No, so that's
more than a few lists.
4 sentences.
9 sentences. Each one is its own sentence.
By the way, Tom.
Fuck you, John.
Fuck you. All right. So, guys, we got a different type of show today. I kind of was walking around today a little bit and kind of trying to think of what to do today and our topic for the show. And I kind of felt that this is kind of the attitude that's being given, by a majority of the vapors. And I hate for it to be that way, but I kind of feel sometimes when I go into vape shops or go somewhere there's a lot of vapors, I always either get, oh, I didn't know that, or who cares, or stuff like that. So tonight's show, oh, by the way, let me get this out there. Just a heads up, Travis Bin, formerly of Artist Liquids, will be joining us at 7 p.m. To discuss the impact of regulations and vape shops in Washington. So he'll be on tonight. He's going to talk a little bit about how that affected him, all the changes, and how the shops and stuff like that. So he's going to be on with us tonight at 7. But tonight's topic is why should we care, right? It's not our money, right? And that seems like to be the norm here lately, with not with so much the people that are on some of these Facebook group pages that we're on, or you people watching, but it seems like that's the attitude I get walking around to vape shops, like I said, or when I bump into another vapor. It just surprises me that a lot of vapors will say, well, it's not my money, I'm not worried about it. So I'm going to go and read this off here real quick. And the United States e-cigarette vape market size is expected to reach $40 billion. We talked about this a couple shows ago. It is projected to register a compound annual growth rate of 27.3% from 2021 to 2028. I know that's like we talked about. I know that's a lot of money. It's hard for us to fathom that much money, but that money keeps many people employed worldwide. As of 2014, there were more than 400. This blew me away. This right here. There was 460 e-cigarette brands worldwide. In 2014, it was reported that in every month of that year, there were a net growth of 10.5 cigarette brands every month. There was a 10 new brands every month. The new e-cigarette brands are continuously being brought into the marketplace. As of 2017, the exact number of e-liquid brands that are in business is unclear. I don't think they'll ever get a legitimate number how many e-liquid companies are out there. It just with DIY, other suppliers outside the marketplace, and of course black market. So it'll be impossible in the U.S. And I don't know how legitimate this number is anymore, because a lot of changed since 2015. So I'm thinking this number's probably dropped a little bit. But in the U.S. alone, there was 9,945 vape shops as of December 2015. But like I said, I'm sure that number has decreased in the last 2 years due to regulations in individual states and cities. I know Washington got hit hard, California got hit hard, New York has got hit hard. So I'm sure that number isn't quite there.
Right.
Probably not so much anymore. If each shop employed 2 people, that's 19,890 people with a job. That doesn't include lab techs, delivery drivers, warehouse personnel, marketing and sales reps. Those numbers could easily be between 50 and 100K jobless people in the U.S. How important is competition in the market? That's what I came up with this, because this is what it seems like. I don't know how Tim and Tom feel, but I personally don't think vaping is going to go away. I don't think the government's going to take vaping away. What I think will happen, personally, myself, think that we're going to be limited to what we are going to be able to buy. The supply is going to be limited. That's what I feel is going to happen. Everybody might be a little different. The importance of competition in the marketplace, even in the vape industry, is important, not just for companies, but for consumers as well. Competition also creates opportunities for individuals to enter the marketplace and start new businesses. It creates jobs and provides people with a choice of employers and workplaces. Competition also reduces the need of government interference through regulations of business. A free market that is competitive benefits consumers and societies and preserves personal freedoms. Are you willing to give our government the ability to choose who supplies us with eJuice, Amber on our Facebook group page put it perfect. This is a perfect statement. I read it. When I read it, I said, I'm going to save that. And basically what she says, when it starts going towards fewer companies, availabilities, it means you end up with monopolies like internet providers, utilities, cell phone providers. You get limited choices and you lose the quality. So should you care? Damn right you should care. Vaping isn't going to go anywhere anytime soon. It will not disappear. The only thing that's going to change is our ability to choose. And that's what I believe. So, Tim, your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, I get it. I mean, I think that they're trying to put a stranglehold on the industry as a whole. I think they're trying to figure out a way to tax the hell out of us and regulate it to the point where they have more control than they do now. But I agree with Amber's statement in the sense that, you know, if you start eliminating competition and you create those monopolies, it's a problem for everybody, because when you eliminate competition, it allows those monopoly companies to drive the price up as well. So, you know, yeah, I think ultimately, you know, we should care about the money, without a doubt.
I mean, you know, I hate hearing it. Oh, well, you know, it's, you know, I'll get my stuff somehow, some way. And it's just like, don't look at it that way. I mean, just the numbers alone of people that are going to lose their job in this industry, that are going to be jobless if things keep going the way they are. Those are a lot of numbers. They may not be these crazy numbers you see in some of their industries, but still 100,000 people that are, you know, figure between 50 and 100,000 people in this industry worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you take that away, that's a lot of jobs lost. That's a reason to care, and the ability to actually help people stop from smoking and making sure that, you know, future people don't smoke anymore and have this alternative vaping. And the government seems to be making it harder and harder for those individuals to have choice and have the ability that you and I have had for the last 10 years.
Right. Well, and that's the other thing. I mean, it's like a double-headed dragon. It's like, you know, the people that are actually in the industry and doing this for a living, not all of them are actually concerned about just kind of like getting rich quick and making a lot of money in hand over fist. There's people with actual genuine agenda attached to that, and that is that it saved their life, and now they have a chance to pass that down to somebody and do the same for them. So there are people that actually care and love this industry to stay in it and keep fighting this fight. And it's a shame that you'll have to maybe take that away from that person and force them to go do something that they don't really want to do, or don't, you know, aren't entirely subscribed to supporting, you know.
Tommy boy, your thoughts, man. I'm hitting you.
I know, and I hate to admit it, and I should be paying attention. I'm trying to figure out why my comments aren't popping up as.
You've been fucking banned.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. I don't know. You're not coming up where?
On Facebook. On the Facebook side.
On the Facebook side.
Yeah, I've done everything.
You're coming up as a Facebook user.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Yeah, we've had that issue for a while.
Much like Danielle is.
Danielle is the Facebook. Who is the Facebook user?
That would be Danielle.
That would be Danielle. I don't know. Danielle would have to. It depends where she's doing it from, because I think there's some limitations on the Wednesday Night Live Facebook group page that needs to be worked out. I think there's some tweaks that we need to do in there to get people to actually, even though they're registered, they're still coming up back as a Facebook user. I don't know. We'll have to try to figure it out.
And I've been trying to figure that out and just kind of half listening, but no, I'm not thinking about cheese. And we should care simply because it's not about us. It's about helping the person that comes in as a smoker wanting to change and to live a healthier lifestyle. That's it. Money be damned. Money be damned.
I know it's hard. It's difficult to keep up with all of it. And I think, there's our system, our government is set up for this reason. And I get it. The federal makes laws, your state makes laws, your local cities makes law. It's hard. It's hard to keep up with what's going on. The feds want this, the states want this, your city wants that. And it's just like we're not fighting one person or one group of people anymore. We're not fighting the anti-vapors anymore. We're fighting our local government, we're fighting our state government, we're fighting our federal government, and it's just so hard to keep track of. And I get why some people would get frustrated and just say, fuck it. I'll somehow, some way, I'm going to get my e-liquid. And with the poll, I was kind of surprised. And I want to ask you, Tom and Tim, why you clicked no on that poll. Elaborate.
I think I put depends. I think if you, I think I flip flopped. Yeah, I think I put depends.
Oh, you flipped on me. You flipped on me.
No, I didn't realize I had clicked the radio button at first because it was on the Twitter one, and I'm pretty sure I put depends.
Yeah.
But I said that because if I don't have a choice, I don't have a choice. I might be bothered by that. You know what I mean? Like if I can't get my Jam Monster or, any one of the other litany of e-liquids that I do enjoy vaping on a repeated basis, if I can't get those, I'm going to be a little upset about it. But in the greater scheme of things, I will move on with my life and I will have to adapt and like flavors that I may not have tried before or from other providers.
But do you think that's what they're hoping for? Is that we're just going to adapt and just, they'll come around our way, and now it's the money is staying within the people that they want to have the money. That's how I look at it, because we just adapt, we accept, and we move on. And that's what I'm afraid is happening with this community here lately. Is people are just saying, I'll just adapt, I'll move on, I'll figure it out, whether it's DIY or I'll just, I'll try other things, or even to the point where, now I know we talked about this before, and I can't remember either one of your guys' opinions on it, but if this were to come down to where the government says, okay, look, we're going to let you have flavors, but guess what? This is what it's going to cost to stay in business. There's going to be a handful of companies that are going to say they can afford the fees, whatever it takes. And let's just say 80% of those people are big tobacco. Are you still going to purchase from big tobacco?
I don't want to be associated to big tobacco at all. I mean, because I don't think 98% of the industry is really associated to big tobacco. I mean, it's always been a consumer-based, network type. That, I mean, would seem to me you do have a small contingent of vendors that are in that space. I just don't know that I see them completely taking everybody down to the point that your only options are like Blue and Juul and Enjoy and the ones that are inherently attached to bigger tobacco companies.
Right.
I don't see it being able to be eradicated that far down to the point.
Well, if you go by their list of the top 10 e-liquid companies, they're all, I think, I don't know, I don't want to take a guess, but I think about 60% of them were big tobacco. Juul is now big tobacco,
right? But they have an ability to capture market share that some of the more smaller, independent, niche companies will ever have the ability to do so, because they have the marketing that can go behind them. They have the distribution that can go behind them. They have the storefronts that can go behind them, because, I mean, let's be realistic. I mean, Juul's not going to make it into most vape shops. Ooh. But you probably won't see too many mainstream e-liquid. And when I say mainstream, I mean the ones that might be mainstream to us probably will not find their way into the C stores and the gas stations and the things like that. So, where are most people going to end up? They're going to end up in a C store and a gas station, and I mean, there you go. So, I mean, they already have the power to control the environment anyway, the market anyway. So it's no shock. It's not shocking to me that they're reflected as those are like being the most popular in the market.
Brian's here.
Sorry,
that's $300, Brian.
Yeah.
Listen,
$100, $100,
300.
300.
It's not $300. No,
I don't think it went up.
Yeah, I don't.
You got bills to pay, man.
Yeah,
I'm actually going on Zachary's timeline here,
and Zachary missed it, and he was early.
Yeah, I know. Like, we must have switched clocks or something. That's kind of how this works.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to get rid of some of the bigger players that are in the industry right now, as far as making that the ones that are making e-liquid, that are the big boys. I don't think those guys are going to go away. They're going to be able to flip the bill. They're going to be able to continue paying whatever regulation fees that they're going to need, whether they're going to have to upgrade to these super labs to keep making juice and all this other stuff. I see those, but how many of those do we have really left that are the big boys? And how many of these little boys are going to sell out? Because I mean, money's money. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to shit on the guy that's making e-liquid and he can't afford to stay in business anymore, but somebody comes along and says, hey, I'm going to offer you such and such dollars to take over. You think that guy's going to care? He's either going to lose his business.
No, I think you make a valid point. I think that that's where some of these e-liquid manufacturers need to start looking, especially ones that are fringe that may not have the general funds to keep their business afloat if things start getting harder to produce.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with looking into investors to try to come in and keep floating your business and keep your head above water.
Yep.
It just means they're going to get a cut, and your once independent business is going to be it's going to be you paying back some money to somebody. But I would hope that the people that step in to invest are not people associated to big tobacco.
Right.
I hope that they make good business decisions.
Yeah, I mean, are we going to see? And now don't. These are not. I'm just throwing out names. I don't think we're going to see companies like Loaded join another company and join forces, because I think they can't do that now because of the thingy, right?
PMTA.
Yeah, it's a PTMA. I don't think they can, right? I think that's
I don't know how
that would
buyouts work or consolidations of companies, but that might be a way to. Well, but see, here's the thing, right? Maybe they can't do it now while we're in the window of waiting for final approvals. We got acceptances, but we're waiting on final approvals. Maybe if we're fortunate enough to get on the other side of some approvals, then maybe companies can start talking about sort of like falling under an umbrella company type name. They can still keep their daughter name or their the child name of the company and still operate and label accordingly, but there will be one sort of managing umbrella entity that is like Monolith e-liquids, and they own Loaded and Jam Monster, and you know what I mean. Like
there's a couple of things. There's a couple of things that's going on here with that. So so if you make a product, you're going to follow PMTA for that product and for all the NIC choices. Now, I saw online that there's like 6 million PMTAs that have been filed, and I can't remember exactly the number that's been accepted right now. To be honest, I can find it here.
Probably not 6 million.
Right. So second of all, with that is who has like if you ship out, it's gonna come down to where you can't ship out anymore. Okay. There's that. Like the USPS, UPS, and FedEx, they'll all stop you from shipping out. But on the other hand, if you have an at-home business, these distributions will actually stop sending to have a residential address. So now it's not only the squeeze coming from one side, it's actually coming from the other side too. So anybody who has at-home stuff that they do, what's happening is that you're getting shut off from both sides. And so with that being said, if you eliminate all these online places from the distros who are mailing out, what's going to happen is that you're only going to have those in-store places, those people who actually only have a physical address stores. Okay. So then that's one part of the squeeze. Okay. The other one is the PMTA parts where those who filed and actually get acceptance stuff, you're going to get limited products. So those two squeezes combined is going to have a huge effect on online distribution, people ordering stuff, everything else. Like it is what it is. And it's hard to keep really going if you have those squeezes on both sides and you don't have that physical place. Let's just say John has an online business and he wants to keep going. He actually can't. There's no physical way that he can, unless he does like distribution like in his town. But if he's got no products to sell from distribution, he's not going to have a business. So like your two fronts are gone. Your one on the other side is gone. So basically, what it's going to come down to is online stores only, and whatever limited products are actually being passed through is what they're going to get. That's just how it's going to be. There's nothing else that nobody can really do about that, and it sucks because even if even if John has all this money, like we'll just say he's a billionaire, and he can't actually afford, like he can afford to do all that stuff, but the law's making it so he just can't do it.
Yeah.
So even if these bigger companies follow the PMTAs, like add out all these products, they're going to be limited no matter what.
Yeah, and
It sucks.
what I was talking about, I mean, this isn't like something that's going to happen in a year from now, guys. I mean, this is something I see happening maybe a couple more years down the line when everything kind of settles down with FDA and DOA, all these other with everybody together. After they finally get everything all lined up and figured out, that's when I see the move happening. That's where I see, well, we're going to start charging, you're going to have to register your company every year, and it's going to cost you this much money. You're going to have to go from this type of lab to this type of lab, and it's going to cost you another $200,000 to get certified and get the equipment that you need. That's what I see happening. And this is like maybe, I'm taking a wild guess. Maybe, I don't know how quickly FDA is going to get all these stuff done, but maybe 2-3 years down the road, and they can start doing this stuff because now they have full control. And that's what I see happening. I just see, because we've seen it. It's in the alcohol business. How many alcohol companies are there out there? How many of the big boys are out there? Everybody else is just, I'm happy with my 1,000 bottles that I produce a year. That's where it's going to go. And I feel bad for not just the mom and pop stores, but, smaller companies. I don't know any smaller companies off the top of my head, but I mean, well, Artist Liquids and a couple of the other guys that are just, they're happy. They may do, I don't know what La Llama does a year. I don't know what they do a year. Probably 10,000 bottles a year. What is this?
That was what I was looking at.
Yep. And that's where the 6 million I was talking about comes from. Is you have FDA received applications for 6,800 products from 100 companies. That's just a substantial equivalence. And then the PMTA product application process is still underway.
Yeah,
this isn't complete yet. That's processed application for more than 6 million products from more than 500 companies. So that being said, like we could be limited to 500 companies and just these products, and that's it. That's just it.
That's still a lot of products from a lot of companies.
There's a lot of products from a lot. And Simon brings up a good thing, because that's something else I wanted to talk about is what's going to stop these companies doing what Chevrolet has done, Ford has done, Hershey's has done, and a couple of the other big, and just say, hey, we're going to leave the United States, going to Mexico, going to wherever they can.
Regulations won't allow it to come back in, plain and simple. It'll
get
stopped at the border.
Let it back in with zero nick.
It'll get stopped at the border.
Yeah.
If the government doesn't want it, they're not going to let it in, plain and simple.
They'll find a way to get it in here.
Well, I mean, technically, you could call it like whatever thing for candles or something like that.
Oil.
Right. And it has no nicotine. You can't like really tell the difference. Like, you got those old burners that have different flavors and stuff. Like, in theory, this isn't a way to cheat the system, so don't listen to this advice. But in theory, you could call it something else and they won't actually process it because it doesn't have that intent with it. However, like, do we really want to be going down that road? I don't think so.
No, we don't.
It's going to be horrible. Like, it's just going to be bad. But I mean, you got to think about how these liquids were made before they were actually legal. It was all products that were flavorings that were actually made for what? Does anybody else know? Because I do.
Baking goods and things like that.
Food.
Mm-hmm.
So that's exactly it. Like, they were actually able to sell these flavorings and all that stuff, and we use a minute amount of these flavorings in juices. Like, it's so small.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 0.005% of it is flavoring. So I mean, a bottle is going to last a long time, but in food, you're going to use it up faster.
Zach, those were the good old days. Good old bathtub juice.
And to Simon's point, that's kind of like how things have to work overseas now, Simon. Like, especially like in the UK, they don't come with any nicotine in them. You have to buy the nicotine separate.
Yeah. There's companies already talking about leaving here and going somewhere else to produce e-liquid. And who's to stop a manufacturer to say, hey, go into China and say, hey, why don't you go ahead and produce our e-liquid? We're going to have you guys produce our e-liquid. What's stopping? Now they got a worldwide base. I mean, China's going to ship to everybody. Do you think this company gives a shit if it comes to the U.S.? Even if it doesn't get to the U.S., they're still selling. I'm not just going to throw a name out there. No, I'm not going to do that. Whatever e-liquid worldwide now, and just got themselves out of the U.S. They don't have to deal with it. Now that starts that whole process where the government picks and chooses who we buy our e-liquid from, and that's what ends up happening. I mean, I'm not going to stop if I can go to China and manufacture my e-liquid. I'm making 10,000 bottles a year. I can go to China and manufacture 100,000 bottles a year and have a worldwide base. I'm gone. That's just being honest. I can't hear you, Timmy boy. I mean, that's just common sense.
Sorry about that. No, I mean,
who's left, right, Daniel? Who's fucking left?
yeah. Well, I mean, it would not surprise me if that happens to some people because, like you said, it is a global market. It's a global market, and if they want to continue to sell their products, their choice may be to get the heck out of the United States because they may be better positioned to sell products. I mean, you know, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I mean, I just don't think the government looks at e-liquid and vape companies as massive sources of revenue income for their states. Yeah. I just don't think they really give a rat's ass. It's like if it's gone from our state, we really won't know. We won't be able to tell the difference. But you're also cheating yourself out of an opportunity to see something flourish that could bring quite a bit of revenue to your state. But instead, we're wasting all this time trying to demonize something that's not bad. I mean, it's not 100% healthy, but it's way better for you than the alternative that you keep kind of complaining about. You know, cigarettes.
Right. Well, here's my thing on parting things out. Like he was kind of saying, have Nick in one thing and have 0 milligram, separated and whatnot. And that's something that we could do. I don't recommend it. And the reason why I don't recommend it is because we do have a society full of like people who aren't very smart. Tom's probably read the news about like people who have left their firearms around or whatever, So, I mean, if you leave a little bottle of like pure Nick lying around, like you imagine kids getting hold of that. We already had an instance at the beginning of the vaping industry where it was like a 60 milligram, whatever, and the kid drank it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Why would we want to do that? If
we have idiots,
right? So like, if we have a bottle that's, we'll just say, nuts that's got 3 milligrams in it, and that's all I can have. That's going to be a safer way of having it for people who are being not smart about it around, just in case something happens.
Yeah, everyone.
That's just my opinion.
Now, everyone by now has seen the lady putting gasoline in her Target bag at the gas station.
There's a lot of
example of people are not smart.
Yeah, people aren't. But Maha, I'm kind of curious. Where's the e-liquid coming from that you're getting there? Do you know? Do you know where it's manufactured? Is it manufactured there? Is it coming from England, China? I'm kind of curious. Where
he said it's Egyptian e-liquid, so hopefully it's made in Egypt.
Yeah, because I thought things were banned there.
Good question. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, Daniel's got a good point. So, I mean, if you look at in like the European countries where they do, we talked about them having that already partitioned out, but the Nick comes in a certain amount and it's very limited. It comes in a little squeeze bottle or, what have you.
Right.
You can have some around here. But, I mean, it's not concentrated. It is mixed in with like VG or what have you. So it's not that pure strength concentrated stuff.
It's not 100%. Yeah.
Right. And that does help with people who, put it this way, not very smart about having that stuff around. So, I mean, that wouldn't be a bad option. Like, I'm okay with something like that because, of the factor of people being not smart.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of other products that are out there that contain the same chemicals we have in our vape. I mean, don't they use PG in inhalers? What happens if someone is a non-user of an inhaler and uses it? Yeah. Does that hurt them? I don't know. I was just wondering. It
No.
doesn't. So I don't have asthma, and I hit that thing just out of curiosity. I pick it up and say, "Hey, boom, hit it." I'm not gonna seize up and die, am I?
I mean,
Try it and
doctors
find
actually,
out.
well, doctors actually,
What a thought.
right. Well, doctors actually prescribed inhalers to people who, like, I had a chest infection during like the COVID thing, and like I tested negative for COVID and all that stuff. But the person at the like my doctor, she actually prescribed me an inhaler. She said, just take this once or twice a day, just to help out, and that's it. I'm like, well, it's kind of already kind of what I'm doing, but these have a little bit different, more chemicals in there. But I mean, if we literally took the European model with the vape stuff and brought it over, that would not upset me one bit, because we would have vape stuff in hospitals. We'd have vape stuff everywhere else, and we would be able to show that it's actually better for you, like without like the government being total jerkwads about everything.
Yeah.
Like that's me. Like I would be totally okay with that, with the partition stuff, as long as we get to keep all of our stuff and have it more readily available. I am totally down with that.
Yeah. But see, that ties into the thing where I was talking about it. Just that's an added expense for a company. And how many of these companies are going to be able to handle that added expense? It's just like that's where the government, with the regulations, make it harder for Joe Blow to stay in business. Maybe he's happy he's selling 10,000 bottles a year, but all of a sudden now that he's going to cut his costs in half. It's going to cost him more to make these little bottles, and he's going to have to add another bottle to that bottle. And it's just, these are the things that I'm afraid is going to take play and just kind of push that little guy out of the picture. And some of us may love that guy that produces 10,000 bottles. We may just love that juice, and it might just be gone, or he sells out. He sells out to somebody bigger.
Right.
Like, hey, I'll take your 10,000 bottles a year. I'll take it.
But I mean, if they're guaranteed revenue, like they might be able to like withhold that for a while and have that guaranteed revenue from other sources, and being able to keep on with what they're doing and being able to make those adjustments as they go. We have had to already make adjustments in the vape industry plenty of few times with labels, with bottle sizes, with changing from glass to plastic to all that stuff. Like that's all costed extra revenue, because what if they had a crap ton of glass bottles sitting around and they couldn't use them? They had to switch to plastic bottles. So I mean, it's happened already quite a few times. Modding of products, switching different types of coils and so that. I mean, hey, I wish we could.
I'm impressed that so many companies stepped up and filled out those PMTAs.
Me too.
I thought a good 80% of them were gone.
Well, I think the federal government even admitted to the fact that the vaping industry found a loophole in the process that allowed them to go ahead and get these 6 million applications in.
We are the loophole king.
Yeah, so I mean, it was and at a cost that was significantly lower than what the federal government was ready to try to think that they were going to take in. I mean, they had only assumed a very small amount based on the structure that they had created. If there is a PMTA process moving forward for something like this, because like really what happens, right? Because the PMTA is effectively trying to establish a precedent, right? That isn't that really the end game? Once we have that precedent, then it means all these other products can flow through the process much quicker, because you just mimic what the other companies did to get approved. You know what I'm saying? Yep. So that's our end goal right now. So you flood them with a bunch of stuff, and I'm sure there's all different variants. But yeah, I mean, I think the vape industry figured out how to work around the nuance.
Well, yeah.
China.
I mean,
the China of industries.
Right. Well, I mean, you have like a group of 20 people trying to make up rules for the industry, and like, hey, this is bad, and like they sit there and take the time, like, okay, this is exactly how we should change the industry. But then you have millions of vapors, you have thousands and thousands of companies who will sit there and nitpick throughout the whole like rules and regs. I mean, you have millions of people looking at these things, trying to figure out the best way to approach it and figure out the best way to find loopholes and figure out the best way to do everything to get around those rules. You have far more minds looking into things versus just the 20 people. So yeah, we're going to find those things a lot quicker than them putting it out. It's just how the dynamics work.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just kind of worried. I don't know. People freak me out when they just say, I'm okay. I'll figure it out. And it's just like, all right, that's cool for you. But how about, how about Bob, who lives out in Boonfuckville, where he has no way of getting any of this stuff? And
Hey, why you got to pick on my neighbor Bob? He's a harmless old fella.
tell Bob to move. He needs to get out of fucking
No.
Wisconsin as quickly as possible.
I meant the boomfuck.
I might move to Wisconsin just to get out of
We don't want you.
I don't want to live there either. I'll live where Tim lives before I move to Wisconsin.
Okay, bye.
I'll be closer to my cousin.
Be a little closer to Italy too.
That's one of the things I worry about. And the other thing I worried about is companies just leaving. And I mean, vaping industry isn't any different than the automotive industry, the chocolate candy industry, or any other industry right now that's jumping ship and leaving places to move to Mexico, North America, so anywhere, Canada. Some are going to Canada. And that's, I've heard, no names, but I've heard big companies that have already discussed this process of moving over there or having China manufacture e-liquid for them. And I mean, I would do it. I mean, the world is a lot more people in the world than there are in the U.S. And if I could get a world market by manufacturing my product in China and now having them, who are the kings of distribution, I'm sorry, we've all seen video of the post offices, our post office. They're nothing compared to what goes on in China. Those I couldn't imagine what those poor bastards have to go through every day and shipping and all that stuff. They know how to do it. They do it amazingly. They've been doing it amazingly for, who's calling me? Shut up. They've been doing it amazingly for 20, 30 years. So if I were in business and I can move my company to China and have them manufacture an e-liquid that is to my standard, why not? That's where I'm at. Where you got, Tom?
I'm just reading chat going.
You're reading chat. Is anybody in chat saying anything good?
Yeah, I'm kind of going back and forth.
There's a few good ideas.
Chat scares me sometimes.
There was one from Danielle earlier about
roasty cheese, return of dank. What the fuck?
Way past that.
Decang. Not
where we were talking about PMTA stuff. Let's see if I can scroll back far enough and find it. As soon as e-liquids get through the PMTAs, I believe Wall Street will start investing. That I would kind of like to see.
Well, I think Wall Street's already kind of did their thing with Juul. I think they've learned their lesson. It's going to take something really, really magical to happen in the industry for Wall Street to jump back into the vaping industry.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You can't have a constrained market. You got to have people being able to grow their business and not be kept in a box.
What's the so everyone's into like the crypto. Well, no, I'm just trying to think how I should put it. So everyone's into the crypto market now. Like all the cryptocurrencies, like they're super low, like 1 cent. Put in $100, I get like $1,000 back, and then kind of cash out. But the other form now lately has been the NFTs. What if like we decide to have the juice companies file an NFT on their company, every single one, and then buy and trade it, and then there's no way to get rid of it because it'd be a non-tangible token. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So then what? I mean,
well,
could the value of it rise then? Could it become more popular? I mean, it could. Like I
think they got to hit those numbers that they're projecting for the industry to achieve by 2028 for the stock market people to start taking notice.
Well, if we tell them that if you take away these regulations that they're going on,
I see what you're saying.
That can significantly rise and make it boom like no tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I mean, if we get a bunch of investors and into the NFTs and all that stuff, and like companies actually do that, then they might have more influence on the people who actually make laws.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We turn into another GameStop. Is that what's going to
Absolutely.
happen?
Yeah, man.
GameStop.
Yeah, that would be crazy, wouldn't it? Like the vape industry just takes off, and not only that, it would also be helping people in the same process. Like to me, that's a win-win.
Right.
Yeah. I invested in Big Vape.
You heard it here first. It's on this show. So anybody who does this,
you heard it here first.
Give us the credit.
Anybody who does this, you need to bring it on the show, and we need to be talking to them so we can help out more people.
Yeah, I got a couple dollars.
I I'm just wondering what it's going to take to get the general, mindset to change, in terms from a government perspective. I mean, what is going to be enough for them to kind of back off a little, because they can ride this youth epidemic thing until the cows come friggin' home.
Yeah.
They can,
And they will, too.
well, of course, they're going to milk every cow they can until somebody can prove them otherwise.
Yeah,
But they've got. I find it just impossible to believe that the federal government doesn't see any value in this industry at all, and that they would just much rather. Yes, I get it. Politicians are always going to have the lobbyist in their back pocket. They're always going to be looking at their interest, their interests around them that don't want vaping to succeed. But I have to imagine that somewhere, somehow along the line, some sympathetic person is going to step up and be like, we're missing an opportunity here. We're missing an opportunity to not only help the general public, but at the same time, just see this industry thrive. And
yeah, I mean, you're right. Some cities and states have seen the revenue and they like it. Philadelphia is one of them. They're getting revenue from e-liquids, and they're happy. They're more than happy. I think they're more than happy than to tell the federal government, hey, it's working here. We're making money hand over fist. People in Pennsylvania and Philadelphia are buying their e-liquid there at home, right, and they're paying the price, and no one's bitching there. Literally. Look anywhere. No one. It'd be hard for you to find any article on anybody from Philadelphia bitching about e-liquid, because they're just like, we get it. We got our stuff. It's there. It's in the shop.
Other than the standard social media channels like Twitter and maybe not even as nearly as much on Facebook and stuff, but it seems like the subject is to some degree quiet again. It's just not. People aren't. It's like it's not under the microscope like it was before when a Valley was around, and then people. You would think that we were like those assholes that go to foreign countries and kill wild animals, for sport. It's like that's how bad vapors were at some point. It's like, you might as well just take my picture next to a dead giraffe or something, because that's just how miserable we are. But now it just seems like a lot of that's like everybody's got other crap that they're worried about now. We have other social issues.
Yeah.
Well, right. Well, for instance, like, people in chat are talking about like the taxes in their own states. Virginia, huge on tax, and New Jersey and stuff. I mean, one thing I just watched today was for every $1 Michigan receives in tobacco taxes and settlement payments is spent 0.00125 on tobacco control programs.
Yeah.
So basically, for every 1.2 billion in tobacco settlement payments, they only allocate 1.5 million. Yeah. What are they doing with the other 99.9 whatever million of it on? Yeah. And that's a problem here. Like, if these states actually, this is kind of a side tangent, but if every state actually spent the money that they actually get on stuff that they were supposed to be spending on, this really wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
But Paul, when will a vaping company really have that kind of revenue to start doing that? I mean, I think that's been one of the ongoing arguments and why we have such a hard time fighting this fight is because we just don't have the money behind the industry to do that. So how much could a vaping company honestly put in a politician's pocket? I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I agree with you. I agree with your comment. I'm just saying, would that ever happen? Because we're so constrained at this point now with the PMTA process and limiting the channels at which you can make money on vaping products, because, it's getting more expensive. The substitute is now starting to become more expensive than the actual harmful product that has billions of dollars. And so, people are going to walk away from vaping because they're like, I can't support this habit. It's cheaper for me to smoke.
Yeah. Well, and their hands are tied, guys, to be honest with you. How much can they grease a politician? I mean, you can only give them so much money. It's not going to be tobacco money. It's never going to be tobacco money. It's never going to match pharma money to that politician.
Right.
It's never. I don't care if all 9,680 whatever shops donated money, I don't think we'd still come near the money that we would need to grease any one of these politicians. And the other part is the industry's hands are tied. We can't advertise. We can't say it's better. We can't do any of that. The days of the blue, being one of the first products out there and being on TV and getting all this love and attention from the community, people, moms and pops, all. I mean, my parents even were like, "Go get that. Go try it. Look, I saw it on the Phil Donahue show. Go get it." Those days are gone. Your mom's not going to come up to you and go, you need to quit smoking. I think you should try this vaping. Good is not.
I really hope my mom doesn't come up to me and say, "Hey, you should quit smoking and try vaping."
It won't happen. No, well, for you, no, you already made the transition. But I'm just saying, for the smoker today, for a parent or a relative to say, "Hey, you know what? Like they did when the blue came out, everybody was just raving about this thing. This thing looks like it's working. It's great. It takes care of both sensations. You should give this a try." We don't get that. No one's going to walk up to anybody and say, unless you're a vapor, but a non-smoker, non-vapor actually approaching you and saying, "Hey, you should quit smoking and try this vaping. I hear it works." I don't think that's happening. Not now. It's not. What else we got in here? Yeah, Oregon's. I feel bad for them. I don't know how the fuck you can afford to buy a bottle of ejuice in fucking Oregon. Not cheap. Yeah, we can't hear you, Tim. GoFundMe program for Tim to get a new microphone.
No, I put myself on mute so you guys don't have to hear me go.
Yeah.
So, John, just so you know,
do that out of kindness.
We might have a special guest coming on to join us in our ranting.
Right now?
Yeah.
Well, we got Tim coming on. Travis is coming on. Who's the special guest?
His name is Dave.
If you would read the show notes, you would see that Travis is coming on from.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but he could come on. Who?
Sure. Dave.
Does he have the stuff? It's me, Dave.
Yeah, bring him on.
He was listening to the show and he's like, "Yeah, it's like,
bring him in.
Hey, we're ranting, so
bring him in."
So if he wants to,
yeah, he can come in. Travis will be in. Travis is basically going to talk about Washington.
Sure, absolutely.
I feel like there's no one that's got a better idea of what they went through there in Washington, and I forget how many shops ended up closing. I think 200.
It's been a lot over a long period of time.
Insane. But yeah, bring him in. Tell that will Tim, should we deduct from Brian's fees of fines?
No, his fees should go up.
It should go up?
Deduct from? No, he should be charged double. Charge
trying to give him a break, man. Tim's just going.
Yeah.
We'll cut him by 50 cents.
Tim's the guy you don't want at the bar at the front checking ID. I don't know.
Yeah.
You don't look 21.
Yeah, exactly.
Morgan, his fine today was 300, so he's up to 5. But if we deduct 50 cents,
300.
Yeah. We're a little nicer.
Yeah. Well.
No, well, there was another thing that I was
go ahead.
There was something else that I had on my mind with regard to this whole entire thing, but now I lost my train of thought. It was a good point, but you know what? I'll think about it when Travis is talking.
Roll those wheels into the head of yours. Get my phone out.
It'll get there. No, I was trying to follow some of what Paul was saying, but I mean, I kind of feel like I think that's kind of like where we're at right now. I mean, people are either going to say, I'm going to stick with vaping regardless of where the prices go on this because I know that it's better for me. There will be people that will stick to that.
Yeah.
But one of my articles tonight was basically I'll give you the tagline. The name of the article was basically Heat Not Burn Products Compared to Cigarettes and E-Cigarettes. So I think people will be interested to find out how those hold up against other the other alternative that's out there, because we know that Big Tobacco developed the heat not burn stuff, and now that's kind of like their backdoor to getting into the healthier alternative to smoking versus vaping. But yeah, it's now getting to the point where vaping is going to start out costing the thing that we're trying to get people away from, and that's just really bad policy. That's just really bad policy. It's not helping anyone.
What's happening, Dave?
Hey, Dave.
I like the no smoking sign back there.
Mute your podcast.
Yeah, mute the show. We're hearing our playback.
Yeah, hold on. I've never used this program before, so I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, headphones work.
Oh, yeah, I don't have that.
You have one
How's
sentence.
that?
Yeah, that's a little better.
It's better, yeah, because otherwise we'll hear everything twice.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show, Dave.
Yeah. We don't
Thanks,
have
man.
that much money to spend on lobbying. No, it's just big tobacco could spend that, and that's just a drop in a pocket.
Yeah, for them, what is that? 8 million on lobbying? I'm shocked it's that low.
So was I, Tim. I was looking for an extra couple zeros.
I was looking for an extra, bundle of zeros on that. Billions.
That is crazy.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris. What do you want to add to the topic?
That's Dave, not Chris.
Dave. I'm sorry. I was just reading Chris's thing.
So yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I have no idea what the topic even is. Brian just sent me a link and I jumped in.
Brian, now you're double fine, Brian.
So
No,
give
I
him
was
the
telling them
basics.
that I was telling them that we're ranting on like the vape industry and like how like the government's actually like screwing us over per se, and how like things are being squeezed from both sides, not just the one. And not it's being squeezed internally and also externally at the same time. And we're kind of complaining that like, hey, this is completely unfair, and it's only for those who actually truly have a lot of money for them to stay in. So like the bigger corporations, Kanger, Aspire, stuff like that can actually keep in with all that money that they have. The little shops, little online businesses can't stay in, can't even help anymore.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And especially since you said online shops, like there's a lot of big online shops that are throwing in the towel right now. The PACT Act is ridiculous. Like it's kind of like the PMTA process in the sense that like it was designed to fail. Like nobody was supposed to be able to do it.
Right.
So yeah, like anybody who's not a very large company or has a very specific strategy is going to be able to do a whole lot going forward, I don't think, unfortunately.
No, they're going to have to team up with other companies. We already know how that works. Nobody in the industry wants to work with each other, and that's one of the problems with the advocacy in this. You have the online people that want certain things. You have the store owners that want certain things, and you want the e-liquid manufacturers that want certain things. And none of those can ever agree. Well, you got to throw in the distribution and the rest of us. Nobody can actually sit down and say, if they could sit down and say, look, we'll take a 10% tax increase. We'll do, and just kind of come up with a solid plan that works for all three factors. I think we would be more successful than we are today. But I don't think that's ever going to happen. That's never going to happen because everybody wants to keep that money flowing and keep that money coming in. Well, those days from 7-8 years ago are gone, where you're getting handsful for whatever that term is of money that was just flying in every day, every week, every month. That's gone. Those days are gone. And a lot of it has to do with competition. There's a lot of competition out there. And I've gone through it. I'm sure that number is a lot higher than what it is as far as who's manufacturing e-liquid in the United States. I'm sure it's higher than that number. And you got competition, and you got some companies that spend large amounts of that money that they make on advertisement, and those are the big boys, and they can do it. They're on Instagram, they're on whatever platform they can get their brand on, and it's out there. And you have the smaller guys that are just trying to get by, and it's just sad because it's just those guys, just if they were just able to sit down, they can all still make money and still have this industry going and remember why they started this business. And that was to help people quit smoking. Sure, you don't start a business to fucking make you do. Everybody starts a business to make money, but with this industry, a majority, good 80% of the people that started e-liquid companies were people that were ex-smokers that really wanted to help other people quit smoking, and it worked for them. But now it just seems like it's just a mix of people like, I'm not giving up, 30% of my profits, because I have to do this because it's going to help the online company, and the shops are saying, well, we're not going to give up money so it helps the online businesses. It's tough. It's tough.
Oh yeah, and it's very common too for companies that are making 7, 8, 9 figures to. When we talk to them about advocacy, they just say, "Yeah, that just sounds kind of expensive." And I was just like, "Man, I'm asking you for $1,000 a year. Like, you're comparatively, that's just. I feel like that's a super small offer for something that
Yeah, that's a fucking tire on your Ferrari, asshole.
So, Dave, when you're not talking, on the very bottom, there should be a mute button, and then you can click that.
Okay, I see it.
And then you should be able to mute your mic. And then you shouldn't have feedback, and you should be able to hear us at the same time.
All right,
And that will take care of the echo.
That's still coming through, though. Do you hear it? Anyway, not important. What I'm trying to understand is that when industry starts to get challenged, obviously intelligent people figure out how to adapt to those changes. So what I'm trying to, I can understand why people don't want to cut their profit margins, but if you're going to start constraining the industry to the point where they're not going to have the same kind of distribution channels that they were used to having before, I don't understand why you wouldn't sit down and re-strategize everything and try to figure out how you can keep everybody's head above water, not just make it about you anymore. Right. Yeah, I mean, no one's trying to take away your e-liquid or your angle or your labeling or make you generic in any way. But I'm saying, but if strength in numbers in this particular industry, right? I mean, when it was unfettered and unregulated, and people could just fire off a new flavor every 2 seconds or drop a new product every other week, it seemed. It's just like, people started getting a taste of the good life, and it's like that money feels good. But that's not the case anymore now. Do you know what I mean? It's like I think you need to take a step back and re-strategize exactly how you keep this steam engine rolling and not just figure you're going to swim in the shark-infested waters by yourself.
Yeah, last time I checked, 0 is 0. 0 never changes. 0 is 0. So,
well, let's ask Dave. So, like with all these companies that you've dealt with before, and whatnot, like, are you seeing like a lot of them like really getting squeezed out with a lot of stuff, especially when the money's being mishandled between the states and government coming out with these rules that they have no idea what they're actually monitoring?
It's hard to give a short answer to that. Like it's very different by state. Because like nothing that the federal government has done yet has really pushed some people out. Because we got the deeming regulations back in 2016, and we've had, a whole lot of steps between then and now where, the majority of people have already submitted their PMTAs and they're just working their way through the process, my company included. But there hasn't really been any enforcement. Nobody's been ordered to shut down or anything like that from the federal government. So the answer really varies by state. Like some states, like I'm in Arizona right now, and Arizona's been pretty fantastic for vaping, honestly, comparatively. But then there's other states like Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Michigan for a little bit there, Washington for a little bit there, that they either impose a flavor ban, or they do something like Pennsylvania has their 40% tax, and that put a lot of people out when that first happened. Flavor bans obviously put a lot of people out, but then there's other states like Florida or Montana, for example, that everything's fine, comparatively again. So yeah, like there absolutely has been companies squeezed out by the government, but I think the majority of the companies that have exited the industry, and I don't have the data to support this, but I'm just guessing based on my own experience, that the majority of the companies that have left the industry have just done so because it got more difficult and the profit margins went down.
Yeah.
And not necessarily because they fought every last step and they just couldn't afford it in the end.
Yeah.
Although, of course, both do exist.
Yeah, that's the thing. They didn't leave because the competition. They left because they were pushed out because they couldn't afford to stay in business anymore. That's the difference to me. I mean, competition, yeah, if I lose to somebody because they're just a better brand, then that's different than getting pushed out because you can't afford to be in business anymore because the government has made it harder for you to stay in business. That's what pisses me off. You know. And that's what I see happening. That's what I see that's going to happen eventually, because I like I said in the beginning, I don't believe this is going away. The government's not stupid. There's still money there. They see those same numbers. They see $40 billion by 2028. They're not stupid. They don't want that to disappear because they're going to figure out a way to tax it and make some money off of it. That's the goal. That's their goal. So I don't see it going away. But what I do see is our choices being limited by the government, and the government saying, okay, you guys want to make e-liquid? It's going to cost you this much money to have a license. It's going to cost you this much money to manufacture this product. You're going to have this certain type of lab, this bottle. They're going to make it so difficult that billionaires are they going to be the one, billionaires, millionaires are the ones that are going to be able to stay in business. Companies, businesses that have seen the profits and are like, we'll take a chunk of that. And then we'll see mom and pop vape shops closing down. Guys that make their own juice all of a sudden can't get nicotine, can't get flavors, can't get VG, can't get PG. They're going to make those guys go get licenses. You're going to need a license to get you're going to need a license to get nicotine, and then you're going to have no kids in your house. You can't have all this regulations, and that's what I'm afraid of, and that's where I see where there's just going to be a handful of companies that we're actually going to be able to purchase e-liquid from. And the government's going to make their money.
Well, I think some of that is true for sure. Like for you said a certain type of bottle, and they already have done that.
Yep.
With the what was it, the CPSC? Is that what it was? Either way, there was a thing a couple of years ago that they said for bottles to contain nicotine, you have to be able to take the lid off, turn it upside down, and squeeze it with the force of I believe it was like a 3-year-old child. And they had this really weird way to make this device that would be exactly that. Like it reminded me of one of those weird machines they used to have in comics back in the day. Like the mousetrap gets this and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But what the end result of that was we can't use glass bottles with the droppers in them anymore, because if you take that lid off and turn it upside down, just all the liquid comes
drink
out.
it right out. Yeah.
And even the old school plastic bottles, like the like soft plastic ones, those won't pass that test either because they're soft plastic. They squeeze real easy. So we're kind of left with just the hard plastic, like the Chubby Gorilla style bottles. And I know they're not the only company that makes that style bottle, but I think they were the ones that popularized it.
So eventually that means the secret sweet spot is going to disappear on that bottle, dude. Everybody knows about the secret sweet spot. There's just one spot on a 30 ml bottle that you can find in 60s too. There's just this one spot where you can squeeze it because, I'm not saying I'm super fucking old. I'm 53 years old. Tim's looking for the sweet spot. It's there, Tim. We can't hear you. It's there. There's a sweet spot on every bottle that's just designed to help that older guy squeeze that bottle.
Well, for what it's worth, fortunately, that weird machine that they described so you can test your own bottles, it had a width of the child's hand. So as long as the sweet spot, like it is right now, is pretty thin, where you just hit it with 2 fingers. I don't think that's ever going to have to go away. But we'll see.
Because there are a lot. I mean, my mom, for instance, she can't open anything. She can't open a jar for her life, dude. I mean, and then have to squeeze one of these, say, 60 or 30 ml bottles. I mean, 30s are probably going to disappear here shortly, but 60s are going to be around for quite some time. And some of those 60 ml bottles, that's some hard plastic on those. There's some really hard plastic on.
That's why for Christmas you buy her one of those vape flasks that's like with the dolphin bottle in there.
The government can invent a fucking machine to squeeze the bottle, but they can't do any research on fucking vape juice. That just blows me. Just take some time and actually do some legitimate studies on the stuff. No bullshit. Don't give rats 20 times the nicotine level that's supposed to give any normal person. Don't bullshit the stuff. Just do it the right way and give us some facts. But then again, the industry should have done that 10 years ago. The industry itself should have said, "Hey, we'll do our own testing. This is what happened. You want to believe it? Believe it. If not, don't." Well, that's the problem. I mean, I get that, but doing research within the industry is a little sketchy to start out with. But at least somebody should have jumped on board and said, "Hey, we've been studying what PG and VG does to the body for the last 10 years if you're vaping it," because they always throw that in our face. Oh yeah, PG VG is not. It's fine for you, won't hurt you, but you're vaping it. You're not eating it. Okay, well, do some freaking research. Tell us what happens. There should be plenty of us now. I mean, I haven't got a chest X-ray in a while, but I'm sure my chest is cleaner than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I think another big challenge with people that are, how do you get honest research done that pushes actual relevant information? Because I feel like where we're also kind of challenged heavily is the fact that the people that do get their work published or seen by Congress or whomever tend to be funded by somebody for one, right? So they're hunting for results that they want to get, that the government wants to get. They want that bad news so they can further push their agenda. But in the same breath, though, it's like those people don't even understand all the variables and nuances around vaping and how everyone is different in their vaping behaviors. You know what I mean? They take a worst case scenario, which isn't even based on what a human is consuming. It's based on a mouse or a rat or a machine or something, and that's completely inconsistent with how all of us vape. I don't vape like you, John. John, you don't vape like Brian. I mean, we're all different. So you can't blanket the thing, and which is why we'll always be followed by taglines: can, could, might, all that BS that gets thrown into the pile.
Well, the other problem with the studies too is that you can't get a authentic, unbiased vape study for a second reason too. Like everything you said, I totally agree is accurate, but it goes the other way too. If I try to go, and this actually happened. Myself and some other companies put some money together, and we wanted to go out and get a few studies on some very specific things related to vaping done. And we couldn't find a scientist that would take our money because they straight up told us, they were like, if we do this for you, like we're going to be a pariah in our own industry and nobody's going to want to work with us in the future.
Yeah, that's the problem. And that's what's sad. What they did a few years ago in San Francisco, where they gave UCSF millions of dollars to research. Have they produced anything from that study yet? I haven't seen a thing from it yet.
I mean, they paid off a sexual harassment lawsuit with it.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, I forget how much money it was. It was a lot of money that they donated to give to UCSF to run tests on vaping. But I've never seen anything back from that study. I don't know if anybody, Tim or Brian, can look that up, but I haven't seen any results from that, and I don't know if they were good results or bad results. Or maybe they were good results and they just don't want to share them for that same reason you talked about. If we,
I just don't understand why someone wouldn't want to buck the system a little bit.
Yeah,
like,
we're rebel.
Take the risk. Take the risk. Put it out there. Put truth out there, and not cave to the funding that you're so graciously afforded or whatever. Like, why not put truth out there? Why perpetuate lies? I just can't believe how we live in that type of an unsympathetic world. It's just it belittles me a lot.
What is the name of that person that just goes out and spills their guts? That's working. Was it? I know there's
a whistleblower.
A whistleblower. Yeah, where's our fucking whistleblower? There's got to be one or two out there. Fuck.
Well, I do think that some universities are doing a little bit of work in their particular settings to try to generate some information that's reasonable to talk about. I mean, I think I've talked about it on the show in the last few weeks about certain universities that paired up to, basically stating that, e-cigarettes were far more successful than some of the NRTs and things like that. I mean, they are trying, but I just don't understand why we're not seeing more people sort of like jump on board and at least try to push some narrative that there's. Because you can look over. And again, why do we completely discount the Royal College of Physicians? What are physicians?
Physician.
Why do we completely discount the Cochrane Library? I mean, why do we discount all of these reliable sources in the U.S. and just say, it's almost like saying they're full of shit, and they're not. They don't.
Yeah, they were the ones that told us 60 years ago that cigarette smokes cause cancer.
Well, right, and that's why I don't understand why a blind eye needs to get turned to any of that. So
Travis is having a hard time. He can't get on StreamYard. I don't know what happened, Travis. Hey, he's got a 4K camera, Sony. Maybe it's a Sony with the Cam Link. It should work. I used to use the Cam Link 4K, and I was able to get on. I don't know, Travis, brother. I'm sorry. If you could figure it out, just jump in there and we'll get you on. Or use your cell phone or your tablet, Travis. Those work great too as well. We're going to go ahead and jump into news and advocacy with Mr. Tim. And let me give pound those papers. Pound them papers. I'm going to
now. Do I go now? Go now. Go now.
Help Travis get on. So I'm going to move.
Okay. Yeah, you go ahead and hook that up. All right. We're going to do a little bit of our vaping and advocacy news tonight. I only have 2 articles for you. So not that there is an advocacy to be done. There is no specific advocacy article tonight. I would just reiterate what I reiterated last week, and that is join CASA. Get involved with that contingent. They will typically keep you up to date on stuff that's going on in your state, any calls to action, things like that. You can always look into your own states. Georgia's been pretty quiet. We've been allowed to kind of vape without any kind of too much resistance. So knock on wood, tap papers, things stay that way for the time being. So the articles that here's the one that I kind of teased for you guys earlier. Hold on, let me share my screen for the visual benefit. And we'll try to make sure we leave some time for Travis here because I have a feeling he'll finally find a way into the show. All right, so this one was actually a London study, but this has been kind of repeated before. But the title of this article was "The Heat Not Burn Product Compared to Cigarettes and E-Cigarettes," and I think everyone is well aware of IQOS and some of the other. There's another brand that's come out too, and I think they're involved in a bit of a lawsuit right now. But they used IQOS to compare its efficacy next to cigarettes and e-cigarettes to see how well these things held up. So no shocker here. Devices that deliver nicotine without smoke inhalation have potential to help smokers transition and reduce smoking-related disease or death. Well, that's a no-brainer. We know that, and that's exactly why all of us here vape. However, the big tobacco companies have jumped on with their heat not burn, which somehow miraculously got through the PMTA with not a whole ton of resistance, mostly because they had the money that they could put up behind that sort of stuff. But maybe not all of us know what the IQOS device is. Basically, it's like a vaporizer type pen that takes like a cigarette kind of stub and it's got actual kind of tobacco in it and nicotine, and then rather than actually set it on fire and make it a combustible, it just sort of heats up that cigarette stick, and then that's what you're kind of inhaling is the aerosolization of that heated tobacco stick. I think that's what they call them too, tobacco sticks. But in order to be successful, a product has to deliver the equivalent to what a cigarette gives the user, right? Because it's never going to be as successful if something is subpar or it's not enough. And you see this time and time again when people are getting into the vaping game and they're trying to transition off of cigarettes. A lot of times, like John and some of us, we started with blues and we all fell back to smoking really quickly in a lot of those cases because the blue just really couldn't compare to the experience and the nicotine that we were really getting from a cigarette. So there's a lot of little factors. But there was a new study done from Queen Mary University that evaluates safety and effects of these products and has focused on the most popular heat not burn item, IQOS. They compared nicotine delivery and user ratings of IQOS to cigarettes, Juul Systems, the U.S. brand, because in the UK they stated that the Juul was kind of nicotine capped. So they went for basically, the 50, 60 milligram, whatever it is that Americans could access. And they also compared IQOS to open-ended systems, refillable systems. They didn't elaborate on what types of refillable systems, whether they were pod mods, whether they were DTL type devices. I'm just going to guess maybe it was a sub-ohm tank and, a standard mod or something like that. But they just kind of identified those as refillable e-cigarettes. So I can't quantify exactly what was used. However, compared to conventional refillable vaping systems, the open-ended systems that most of us are used to using, IQOS provided nicotine faster, but received less favorable ratings. So from an experience perspective, the experience of using the IQOS definitely delivered the nicotine that the person was looking for, but they just didn't enjoy it. Now, that I would have to imagine it probably didn't have that DTL type experience. It's probably more like an MTL type draw. It's probably more like a cigarette in that sense. But I'm also going to go out on a limb and say that it may have had something to do with flavor. I think I had seen packs before online where they were coming with flavors. Now, I could be wrong. I don't know what's offered with IQOS elsewhere. I don't even know. Does anyone here on the panel know if anyone's using IQOS in the United States? Has anyone seen or heard of someone using it? Okay. So Dave's familiar. I don't know what the success rate over here is. I don't know what anyone's impression of the thing is. I haven't even watched a YouTube video on it. My personal feeling is I don't want to give my money to Big Tobacco, so I don't want to try it. I don't really. Good on them. Tobacco harm reduction is tobacco harm reduction, but I'm not going to give my money to Big Tobacco. The study also concluded that IQOS may be less effective than the Juul, and that IQOS could be as effective as an open tank system, but users favored the open systems more. So obviously, I didn't mention that they. Oh, sorry, I missed a line of my notes. It said IQOS delivered less nicotine than cigarettes, less than Juul, and was less effective in reducing urges to smoke. So that just kind of plays into the aspect that if you're going to take up something to transition away from smoking, success is going to be less. You're going to be less inclined to be successful if you're not at least getting what that cigarette offered you to begin with. Now, you can adjust after that, but if you're smoking now and you go to a device that doesn't give you as much nicotine or lessens that experience to being somewhat unenjoyable, you're more inclined to go back to smoking. So overall, IQOS actually did not perform as well as a cigarette because it didn't deliver as much nicotine as a cigarette. It didn't perform as well as the Juul because the Juul offered the nicotine levels that people were kind of searching for, even though I think a Juul pod is probably, twice the amount of what's in a cigarette at the time. And it did perform well compared to open-ended systems. It's just that people didn't enjoy the experience as much as the open-ended systems. So like I said, I was going to get to this line, but it says the study concluded IQOS may be less effective than the Juul, and that IQOS could be as effective as an open tank system, but users preferred the open systems more. Author and Professor Peter, I can't say his name, Hajek, Hajek, from Queen Mary University offered that IQOS is likely to be helpful in getting users to quit smoking in countries like Japan, where vaping is effectively banned. However, in countries like ours, where vaping is available, at least for the most part, or other countries like the UK, for example, vaping would probably be the preferred choice from most users. So, and I don't know who they actually tested, so I can't say whether or not they actually had people who were previously vapors testing the heat not burn device and then having that by way of comparison. I'm hoping that they had an isolated study where they were actually taking people who were smokers and trying to get them to transition to something else and giving them that option. But this basically just proved what I thought, and that is that the nicotine levels inside the IQOS devices weren't enough to substantiate a reasonable transition away from smoking. So there's that one. Any questions? Anyone? No. Everybody understood that
I
one.
do.
No? Yes.
I
Okay,
do.
go for it. Yes.
Okay, at the very
know
beginning,
that?
you kind of said that the delivery of the nicotine in those devices
Hmm.
is faster than vaping.
That's what
In
they
general.
said. Yes.
Okay, and I'm trying to figure out how that is to be, like how the science actually works behind that. Because if you say compared to like a Juul or like any other stick or whatever that you're using 50 milligram nicotine in, wouldn't that delivery system be faster than in theory like a heat not burn device?
Well, they
Because
didn't
of the fact-
state that it delivered nicotine faster than something like the Juul. So I'm going to take this angle on that one, Brian, and I'm going to say that when the nicotine was faster as compared to a refillable vaping system, I'm going to guess that the open-ended system or the open system was probably a nicotine level that was rather low and probably using like a freebase. Whereas I don't know what nicotine they're using in the IQOS. I don't know if they're
Okay,
using a Nic Salt.
So in theory, when they say delivering nicotine faster, maybe they misworded it and said they delivers more nicotine than the other device, because of the fact that if you're using a lower open-ended system with 3 milligrams of nicotine, then it wouldn't deliver as much nicotine as quote as fast.
Yeah, unfortunately, they don't get into the detail in the article as to
Well,
exactly.
that's dumb.
Well, I'm
Sorry.
sure there's probably more to this thing. This was basically sort of like a small kind of cliff noted version of what was done. I'm sure you can go to the academic group and actually read, and then you're going to get a bunch of numbers that neither you nor I would understand what they're talking about. That's the only thing I can think, because it's both aerosolization. I'm just going to guess that they weren't using Nic Salt in the open-ended systems. They were using a low milligram freebase, and I don't know what type of nicotine they use in the IQOS systems. But they also don't quantify exactly how much nicotine per stick is. They don't say what the comparisons were unless we get it. Well, let's try. Let's see.
Okay, well, maybe Dave knows. Do you know what they use in the IQOS systems for the nicotine delivery system itself?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just loose leaf tobacco. Like the little sticks that you put in there are literally indistinguishable from cigarettes, except they're a little bit shorter. Like they have a filter, they have the paper around it. It's actual tobacco inside them, all that stuff.
All right, so here's more to the situation. It says participants who were daily vapors smoking less than one cigarette per day on average attended after overnight abstinence from smoking and vaping to test at separate sessions, OBC, IQOS, and Juul. 8 participants also tested 2 refillable e-cigarettes using e-liquid with 20 milligrams per milliliter nicotine. So that's where they were with the open-ended systems. The Juul, we know, had at least 59, right? I think that's where Juul sits. Aren't they around 59 milligrams per milliliter? I think an average cigarette is somewhere around 24. I think I want to say that's probably about right. So that just tells you right there that if IQOS isn't delivering the same amount of nicotine as a cigarette, a standard combustible cigarette, they don't reveal that. They don't say anywhere in here exactly what the nicotine levels were of the IQOS.
Okay, if you scroll down to the results, it says IQOS delivered a less nicotine than OBC, and then Juul, and received less favorable ratings than Juul, speed and urge relief. So basically, like it's saying right there in the results that the IQOS system actually delivers less nicotine,
But
less
faster.
faster.
Less overall, less levels of nicotine, but gets it into your system quicker. I don't know how you can possibly obtain that. I don't know.
Microchips.
Microchips.
I don't know. I don't know. Like, so okay. Here's a question, Dave. Have you used IQOS before?
Yeah, one time.
Okay, so when you used it that one time, did you feel like it actually delivered the nicotine to yourself faster than you using other products?
So honestly, I didn't really notice just because like I was sitting there vaping and somebody had an icon like, hey, can I try that? So he let me pop it a couple times. It wasn't necessarily crazy at the time, so I didn't really. One thing I do want to say about them though is they have a excuse me, they have a very strange taste to them. The closest I can say is like you ever taken a cigarette out of a pack and just like smelled the cigarette without lighting it? It tastes like that. It tastes like that smell, which is kind of odd. So it was kind of off-putting to me, but honestly, I feel like that's one of those things that you probably get used to over time. But all things considered, my takeaway from it, I took 4 or 5 puffs off the thing, and I was just like, yeah, like I like vaping better in every way.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of how the article landed. Anyway, they were saying that the people that could still access vaping, they would certainly pick vaping. And these were vapors, right? It even said that they were vapors who were daily vapors smoking less than. So these could potentially have been dual use people too. And maybe it would work. Maybe IQOS would work for someone who is coming off of smoking, and then that transition to that flavor wouldn't make them skip a beat. They wouldn't have that forbidden fruit of a nice flavor to kind of go along with it. It just kind of keeps them where they are. They get that same tobacco. Because there are vapors who like tobacco flavors. So, really, I mean, it's not hurting anybody. Interesting study. Needless to say, I think it just once again kind of proves that, vaping really would be the winner in all of these cases. But unfortunately, we just don't get the luxury to kind of, not here anyway. So again, this was a London study. All right, so let's move on to the next article. This one I also picked. It's not from this country. If we have any people that are from Greece, you might be interested in this one. But I think it says a lot for, I think, the relative.
Opa.
Exactly. Opa. I think it's relevant to here as well. I just thought it was an interesting survey, only because this is, I want to feel like this is sort of some of the battle that we fight from our own trenches. But this is also a study that was done in Greece, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to have the overstock thing there. More than 8 out of 10 smokers, about 83%, say they don't have the information they need on alternative THR products. So I thought that was an unusually high number. But that's 8 out of 10. Now, these are people from Greece, so don't think I'm talking about North America. 88% of the people surveyed believe that reliable information about those alternatives should be easily accessible. So, again, it's not something that people can find. I mean, we're not even allowed to generally even talk about it here. We can't say it's better for you, but they struggle to find information on ways to quit. So a nationwide survey that was conducted in March, this is a nationwide survey that was conducted in March by market research firm Mark. I don't know much about them. I didn't really dig too deep. The data retrieved highlighted the need for more easily accessible information, scientifically supported information, and how to quit smoking. So people that were interested in learning how to quit in Greece didn't know where to look or to turn to try to find out about these particular products, but they also wanted information about those products to substantiate why they're better or it's a reasonable choice, and they couldn't find that information. And in general, just ways to go about quitting smoking. And I just don't think that we see a lot of that here. I mean, yes, we get kind of teased with the what you call it, like with the NRTs and stuff like that. But you just don't see much else talk about smoking cessation. It was titled "The Pandemic, Lockdown, and Smoking Habits and Social Trends." That was the name of the survey. They surveyed 1,200 people. All were smokers and were chosen from households in both urban and suburban areas. More than half of those said that they did not know enough. They did not know enough ways about quitting smoking or the benefits of doing so. So because they didn't know, well, I find that hard to believe. More than half didn't think that smoking was bad for you. Okay. Anyway, the situation was worst among young smokers, with almost 62% between the ages of 21 and 34 years old stating that they didn't know enough. But usually kids at that age, are they actually looking to really quit? Probably out drinking with their buddies, having a bunch of smokes. CEO of Mark, Thomas Garakis, said the biggest problem revealed in the survey is what I would refer to as lack of information. And I believe that the problem is even bigger than we can see in this research because it's very difficult to admit to not knowing something. Regardless, the Greeks have embraced some alternatives. 46% of the population believe that alternative smoking products are less harmful than cigarettes. That's good. 61% of 21 to 34-year-olds and 51% for those with a higher education. So it's not like they don't understand that alternatives are better for you. Just apparently they just can't find information about those in order to make that decision to switch. Almost 28% said that they've been smoking more during the pandemic, and 7% who had quit before the pandemic started smoking again. And basically the finding of that study was just that there's a link between smoking and stress. So most likely to be smoking more frequently were unemployed, self-employed, and those in the group of the 21 to 34 age group. However, 85% of the people smoking were concerned about the serious health consequences of the particular habit. Just for a numbers perspective, about 440,000 users of alternative smoking products. I'm sorry, there are roughly 440,000 users of alternative smoking products in Greece, and that smokers are actually only a minority in that country. So they don't have cigarette smoking on the rise in Greece, but people that still are smoking can't seem to find information on how to quit. So I don't know. Maybe they don't spend enough money on advertising and stuff like that. Not sure. I just think it's relevant to hear. I think a lot of people were deterred by poor messaging, were deterred by the Valley scare and the propaganda that's out there. So they don't trust the quit systems.
So, okay. So in Greece, you're talking about like they have a hard time believing that or supporting the quitting of smoking.
No, in fact, actually, their cigarette usage numbers are falling. They're actually not on the rise, and they're not one of the countries that has a predominant smoking culture. Matter of fact, they said that you pretty much have a smaller contingent of smokers compared to the people that used to smoke that have actually quit. But the people that are still smoking are finding it difficult. They know that the smoking is bad for them, but they just don't have the information or the scientific information to substantiate finding out about alternatives to quit smoking. Does that answer the question?
Well, yeah, because for me, like we have somebody here in the U.S. who does go to Greece quite often, who does try to do what he can to try to help people in that area, and he's well known around here. Dave probably knows who he is too. Everyone on the panel knows who he is, and to help out with that, maybe the message there through whatever channels they haven't been very successful or very positive messages, kind of like the U.S. where it's got negative messages about it.
Yeah,
but we all know that it's a good thing to have it. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I'm just thinking it's probably a little bit of the whole aspect that you can't touch everybody. I mean, I know who you're talking about, and even if you go to another country and you lobby for it or you try to advocate for it, you've got people that live in areas of that country that will never ever really get a chance. Like imagine a farmer in Greece or something. They live in a very rural or urban type environment. They're not going to have access to the same kind of stuff unless you're allowed to put that stuff on television or over the radio or something like that. They're probably just not going to get the information readily available to them, so they just continue to smoke until they just decide that they don't want to do that anymore, and they either quit cold turkey or they just smoke until they pass away. It's just interesting to me that 85%, what did I say it was? 83, more than 8 out of 10 smokers, 83% say they don't have the information they need on the alternative THR products. And then they also can't find information about them, have it easily accessible to them, as well as do informed research because they can't find scientifically supported information. However, a big contingent of them are aware that the alternatives are beneficial. So it's not contradictory. They just don't know enough about them to jump on board. And maybe over there they're a little bit more critical. I don't know. But that's it. That's your news for the evening. News and advocacy. And did I lose you guys? I probably lost you guys.
Travis is going to pull out his webcam and come on that way.
Okay.
There he is. What's happening, Travis?
We got a full board tonight. Let me stop sharing. Hold on.
Yes, sharing.
I got this webcam here that I'm not used to. So.
Oh God, you still look the same, man.
Yeah, I haven't changed
Sony
in a
camera
day,
is
man.
going to improve your looks, Travis. It only makes it worse. Believe me, I've seen myself in 4K, and I don't think anybody needs to see it.
It's blowing out the lights, man. It makes it look really bright in here, and it's not that bright in here. I promise you.
Oh man, we're glad that you were able to get on. And
yeah, man, for sure.
Join us. And you, like I said, firsthand how regulations have burdened not only there in Washington in the stores, and I think it was 200. Did you say? We were trying to remember the number of shops that ended up closing in Washington.
It was outrageous. It's probably still counting. I mean, at least 200. I think we had a list going at one point, and before we had the actual tax fully hit. Not to mention, Washington's been pretty liberal about lockdowns and everything, but even before everything hit, we were, well above 130 businesses.
Wow. Well, let everybody know who you are. I don't know if everyone's forgotten who you are. What you used to do.
Yeah, what I used to do, man. So yeah, obviously my name's Travis. I was right here in the corner. Used to run and operate Artist Liquids, Artist Labs, manufactured all around the country. Yep. Been in it since 2014. We've had multiple retail locations throughout Washington State. Man, back in the day when it was,
when it was cool.
When it was cool, man. Like when we were just getting started, our shop was probably like the third or fourth like dedicated vape shop in our county.
Tom pulled out the good shit right there.
What do you got? What is that? What do we got?
Black Label.
Oh man, that's throwing
Black
it
edition.
back, man. Yeah. It's throwing
There's
it back.
still a little bit left too.
Save it.
I had planned on it.
I shit you not. I still have boxes of e-liquid.
Hey, you know my address.
Yeah, man. It's dude. We had
you guys were manufacturing as well for other companies, right?
Yeah, we had tons, man. We were manufacturing for probably like 10, 12 other companies. We actually, man, when we closed that down, we were still profitable. I was getting hit up by people every single week. Hey, we need more. We need to manufacture. I'm just like, in this state, it's not doable. It's not doable in Washington State.
Yeah.
Not doable.
Dave really, what's his name now? I wanted to forget his name, and I did forget his name. Your governor. He really covered. He covered all the loopholes. There was none for you guys. I think he was paying attention. I guess he was paying.
They had, what we really had is we had companies, like all of the tobacco lobbyists were working with the state to get our products more heavily regulated. So you had, Altria come in and basically lobby against the vapor industry in our state.
Yeah, because they made it difficult for you guys to not only manufacture but to sell out of that state, to bring in anything into that. It was just you covered every single base to where it's just many companies either shut down or left the state of Washington.
I don't think we have but I don't know, maybe I know Barista Brew had just moved to.
They left.
They left. Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure they left. All the Eastern Washington guys just went to Idaho. I don't know of any manufacturer right now that's still producing in Washington State.
That's sad.
Yeah. So it's gone. And we had quite a few. We had a lot of small guys, a lot of medium, and then a lot of bigger guys too. Bonsai, they've been around for like 10 years. They're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Barista moved 3 times.
Oh my God. Where did they end up?
I think they are in Texas, right? I think that's what God, man, Joe told me. I think it was Washington. Well, it was San Jose to Washington, Washington to LA, LA to Texas.
Dang, wow.
I mean, that's the thing we were talking about. That's what I was talking about here at the beginning of the show, and it just, I don't, like I said, I don't believe vaping's going anywhere. There's just too much money there. The government sees it; they can see the numbers. I'm just scared that we're going to get limited choices. And
yeah, I mean, we see it. We still have a retail store, so
yeah,
I have one. When we went through the flavor ban, we closed everything down except for one location. Because we're like, if this is the beginning of Washington doing a full shutdown and they're going to eliminate flavors, then we want to be able to pick up and leave if we absolutely need to. So we kept one open, and what we're seeing is continued attempts. Every single year they're coming back with more legislation, more taxes. They banned menthol cigarettes in Washington this last year. So we know they're going to keep coming. Fortunately, we have a good lobbying crew in the area. Is that a question? Oh,
no, we know. Everyone in this panel knows knows that. Yeah.
That's the thing, man, is that the health department will tell us we can't make medical claims, and then they'll turn around and they'll put up a sign on the side of a bus that says, there's nickel and copper in your vape. And it's like, Jesus Christ, dude, come on.
Well, they can afford the big billboards and not that here's the thing. Do you think if we were allowed to market those quotes, do you think that a majority of these bigger companies would take advantage of that? You think we would actually see bus billboards saying vaping is 99.9% safer?
I think this is something I've been thinking about a lot recently, actually, is there used to be a story behind vaping. Like, the story was, you've been smoking for 20 plus years, 2 packs a day, and you're tired of spending the money. The cigarettes are making you wheeze. You can't get up the stairs without feeling like you're winded. You're spending tons of money every month, and people are dying. And what we have is a product like vapor that comes in, and not only did we say in the coin term we had in the beginning was stop smoking, start vaping. That was like the big thing that we always pushed. It was on your window, other people used other terms, whatever, but that was the big push, and we would just tell people, hey, just try a vape, man. Back in the day, we would give people a free vape for a pack of smokes. We'd say, here's a free vape for a pack of smokes. And they would come back 2 weeks later, like, holy shit. Like, I feel phenomenal right now. This is amazing. I've never been able to quit. And we don't have that story anymore because we're not allowed to tell people that it's healthier. Like, you feel better when you stop smoking and you start vaping. Mm-hmm. And we don't get to tell that story anymore because the health board, the local city, local municipalities, the health boards, the state governments, federal government tells us we can't say that anymore because it's, according to them, it's not true. Although we all know, based on our own experience, it's true. So
Well, the workaround for that is that you can say that as long as you're not representing a company,
Yeah.
a store, or any distros or
Yeah,
anything else
we
like that.
can.
You can, yeah, you can. The best thing you can say is, my experience from it is this, or my story is this. Like, it's a personal thing. Like, you can't be stopped saying what has happened to you. Like, Dave probably knows this too. Like that, you can say
As a
that, but
shop
you
owner,
can't.
you can say that though, right? You can't even give your as a shop owner, you can't say your personal opinion that it has helped you.
If you're in the industry, you can't give your personal opinion either.
Yeah.
But there is a different loophole. You can quote other people.
Yeah,
Like
that's
since somebody brought up the RC, like you can't say vaping is 95% safer than cigarettes, but you can say, according to the Royal College of Physicians, vaping
Right.
is at least 95% safer than cigarettes.
right. I mean, I've flat out just said it, but I can't put it on. I can't make a post online about it. I can't put it on my window. I can't. And that was the big thing that attracted me, was in the very beginning, was seeing these small little stores like Vaping Saves Lives or Stop Smoking, Start Vaping, and then eventually I'm like, oh shit, maybe this does work, so we don't have that story anymore as an industry. Therefore, I don't think as many people get seen, or see what we're doing still. Maybe they do. I don't know. I still think it's a strong industry. It just doesn't have the same story, the same, success and like.
Is it the attitude that it's the profit, not the lives anymore?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially for business owners, like, as well as I do, a lot of the people that started early weren't really, when I started my first business, it wasn't about making money. It was about a product that we found that we knew was going to help people. And eventually it became about the money. And especially as more regulations came down, it was like, well, it's kind of about the money now. It's not really about helping people, because there's nothing I can really do at this point besides, hold on to my ankles. You know what I mean? Like,
You can only do so much to help people but when it starts cutting into your way of living your life and supporting your family, you have to make a decision. Yeah, and you just have to. There's just you can't jeopardize, supporting and putting food on the table and keeping a roof over the head of your children and your family. You can only do so much.
yeah. It's but I've been thinking about that a lot recently, because
You miss it.
I do, man. Absolutely. I would love to keep doing. I think about it, man, how much we traveled, how many people we met,
Shows.
how many different just connections we made. And I don't know if I'll ever be part of an industry that was like that again.
No. Classic cars.
Classic cars. There you go.
It's
Well, I mean,
bring up the cars.
John looks like a classic car.
Bring up cars, but bringing up cars. Look what they're going. Look what the government's going after these kids now with parts. Right? They're making
Right.
these. Yeah. So now I guess some new regulation where the guy with the Isuzu can no longer get some modified part because the government's saying you can't have that anymore.
Yeah, man.
It's fun.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
anybody who's watching, like any customers that a shop has, like anybody who's not in the industry, which is pretty much a lot of our viewers, you can say anything that we can't say.
Yep.
We're on a show, so we can't say, what I mean. But
Vaping is
I mean, but-
99.9% safer. I said it, Brian.
right, exactly. So I mean,
somebody needs to.
if you're not a part of the industry, you can say that. You can talk to your about that. You can tell other people that. You have the ability to do that, and there's far more people, consumers of this industry, versus who are in the industry. So take your voice and tell your friends, tell your reps, tell everyone else. Have that voice for those who can't speak.
Yeah. Even if you're in the vape shop, I mean, I'm glad, because it happens here all the time at the vape shops here. The customer does not hesitate 1 second. He knows, most of the customers know they can't, the guy behind the counter can't say it. They jump right in. Oh man, it's, they can't stop the customer and you are the customer. If you're in a vape shop and there's a newbie that's in there and he asks that question to the shop owner, you already know he can't answer that question. Answer it. Say, hey, this is how it's helped my life. They can't stop you from doing that. So jump in there, and I'm telling you that the shop owner will appreciate it big time.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I don't think like right now, at least what I'm seeing in my state is we're seeing a huge push towards, like these smaller devices, disposables. It was pods, then it was disposables. We're doing everything we can to combat that and just educate people, again, I think the biggest saving grace is, money. You spend a lot less on, even a pod device than you would on a disposable every day. But we still have those dedicated customers, man, that come in, good old fashioned vapors. They've got their box mod, they're buying, some of them still build, not many. But I don't see that going away. I think we're still a very strong industry. And I only see it growing as a way that
40 billion.
Yeah, I think especially the younger crowd, and I don't mean underage. I mean, as people get older, they get to the age where they want to make the decision, hey, am I going to use nicotine? Is this something I want to do? They know that, medically speaking, it's a better product than cigarettes are.
Yeah, I think the government too is taking the easy route on this because they know it's going to be much easier for them to regulate the disposables and the smaller pod systems. That's something they're going to be able to control. They're going to be able to know how many are out there. With a bottle of e-liquid, I think they can in a way, but if they can't see how many people are DIYing, they don't know any of that stuff. So maybe that's their way of looking things is like, hey, we'll get rid of all this crap. We'll get rid of all these sub-ohm tanks. We'll get rid of all these mods. And everybody, if they really want to really vape and they really, really want their flavors, they'll go buy a disposable.
That's fair.
I'm not happy with that. I want to see my clouds, man.
Whether it's, like the other problem with disposables is the nicotine content. And you talk about what actually is the problem there is I even have a small pod that I rock, and I can control the amount of nicotine I put in here. I can put 0 if I want. I can put 3, I can put 6, I can put 50, although I don't. Most of these people don't know that there's a choice between 50, 25, 12, 6. So they just we get a lot of people that are like, I've never heard of 24. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Well, maybe I don't see that happening. I don't see them going, okay, here's a 50 milligram disposable. Here's a 25 milligram disposable.
Right.
I don't see that happening.
I don't.
They want to keep you. And if you're an owner of a disposable company, what is your goal? Your goal is to sell those disposables. So why would you have that available? Why would you be able to tell the person, you can go from 50 to 3 or 0?
Yeah. Why wean them off? Yeah. Exactly.
Wean them off.
Yeah.
You guys any questions for Travis?
I thought Dave had one.
Tom?
Oh no, I just unmuted myself to say there actually is at least one disposable company I know of that makes multiple levels.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
China-based?
Yeah.
China-based?
No, they're actually right down the street from me here in Phoenix.
Nice.
But they have a 50 and a 25.
Nice.
Oh, so it's 50, 25. They're still keeping you hooked though at that levels.
Oh yeah. They don't go 12, 6, 3 and all that.
Yeah.
I think that's like Travis was saying. I mean, that's a big differential because the people that are kind of fly by night or just kind of walking into a C store or something like that. I mean, the person behind the counter doesn't really know what they're selling them. They know that it's a vape. The person buying it doesn't really know anything about the nuances around vaping, so they're just going to buy that and think that that's their success story to quitting smoking, because not always does 50 solve someone's problem. I'm not saying that person needs more nicotine to solve the problem. I'm just saying that might be too much for them.
Yeah.
Like they don't know that there's a lighter option that they can go with that would sit with their system really well. Like there was a picture of a friend of mine in my Facebook feed who's trying to quit smoking, and she's like, I don't know about this vaping thing. I even bought one of the fancy ones, and she's like, I just don't know how people can do it. And I was like, look, and I just kind of I don't ever talk to her or anything like that, but I just got in her comments and I was like, hey, look, vaping is a nuanced thing. It's like every success story is different. Everybody's journey is different. I'm like, if you ever have any questions about it, I could give you some alternate options, and she may have walked into a vape store, but that's sometimes can be another problem. You walk into a vape store and even sometimes the person behind the counter doesn't really know too much, they're just like, oh yeah, get what all my friends are using, here, just do that. That should work. And it doesn't always work. So, it's unfortunate. You would hope that. Go ahead.
No, keep going. Finish.
No, I'm done.
Didn't
I was winding down.
Okay. Didn't Juul come out? I hate that saying that name, but this is what I saw. Didn't they come out with like a 50 and like a 20 whatever for overseas and like in the US?
Yeah, because they were limited on what they could sell in certain countries. So I think they did have a 25 at one time.
They did.
They filed a PMTA on a 30.
On a 30?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not aware of where those are sold right now, but they did submit on that.
I doubt they're sold. The big thing though is like the reason I even mentioned that is as regulations get put into place, it's always about like how addicting vaping is and how bad it is for you and how the kids are just picking it up and can't put it down. And the interesting part is we never in the industry saw that be the case until like a product like Juul came around. I'm not blaming them 100%. And I'm not even saying disposables are a bad thing. I vaped disposables when I can't get my hands on, my regular vape. But the like you had mentioned, if you just walk into a C-store and that's all you have access to is a 50 milligram disposable, and they don't know the difference between that and a 3 milligram in a regular vape, yeah, you're gonna get hooked real quick.
Yeah,
real quick.
Yeah, because some of us are lucky. I don't know how. Some of us are, they can smoke 5 cigarettes all day and they're happy, but they want to quit, but they can't quit. You give that guy that smokes 5 cigarettes a day a 50 milligram Juul.
Oh, he's gonna hate it.
Yeah. It's going to be way too much. Well, and I think the other thing too that the people who are like all about the kids and not being able to put it down, I don't think they even really understand what the kids are doing. They're not even just buying a Juul and just puffing on a Juul. Like they're loading up 8 of them into a styrofoam cup and making some contraption that loads them up with more nicotine. Yeah.
Or Tim, it's for the mango flavor, Tim.
Exactly. It's that damn cotton candy again. And that or they're making YouTube tutorial videos on how to get the best buzz off of a Juul. Like basically like choke yourself out and then do asphyxiation, then inhale, and then
choke yourself out.
Yeah, it's like you don't even get it. They're like abusing the crap out of that stupid little Juul. No wonder they can't put it down.
Every generation has their thing. I mean, you go back to my days. I mean, they were doing some pretty wild, crazy shit, and the companies that I'm not going to say what they did because I don't want to give anybody fucking any ideas out there. But they didn't go after the companies. They didn't go after. They didn't say, oh, you can't do that. With our product, it's not designed for that. And we did. It just to me, it's insane. I still just blows me away. I always bring it up, Blue. I always bring up the fact, It was on Phil Donahue. It was on the fucking evening news. It was just this great product, this amazing product that's finally worked. Millions of people were using it. It worked. And now we're in this situation. And, you know, it's crazy to think that we went from a product that was just praised by everyone I knew. My aunt was a nurse at the time. She's like, oh, you got to go try this. This thing looks amazing. It's working for people. To where we are today, where people are just like, you know, I feel bad. I for the first time this year, I say this year, mid last year, is the first time I closet vaped. You know what I mean? If I was out and about, I kind of took my hit and I kind of blew either my vapor into my shirt or into my jacket because I didn't want that conversation. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want someone telling me I was going to die because I'm vaping while they were holding a fucking cigarette and puffing away on a cigarette. And that's sad.
Well, the Beast Gamer actually had a question for Dave in the chat, to be honest.
Where? Who?
The Beast Gamer. He said, to add on what you said about the Royal College in the UK, with that study was them PHE in UK that came to that conclusion study. To that conclusion study wise, did PHE first do it, then Royal College? Do you know by any chance answer that question?
I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it was Royal College first, and then Public Health England picked it up after that and spread the information around.
Did Tom go out to go cut some cheese?
Yes.
Oh, so another thing on that subject, though, like I'm saying, like I'm sure you guys have talked about this at some point, but Public Health England has done a lot for vaping, just in general. Just the fact that they let vape stores exist inside hospitals, and if you can't afford your vape stuff, like their public health system will give you free vape stuff so you don't smoke. Like there's a reason that their smoking rates are going down so fast and ours aren't.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was a big thing here, even in Washington, right? Like right before our tax bill hit, as soon as what we found out was as soon as the 21 bill hit for the age to vape, as soon as that hit, our teen smoking drastically went down, and vaping drastically went down. So what we realized is that it really wasn't the vape shops. It really wasn't the online sources. It really wasn't these legal businesses that were supplying to underage youth. It was friends, relatives buying and giving it to their friends. And I just think we went a step too far with some of these regulations.
That's the thing. I even wrote it on one of these stupid California tobacco-free fucking things that's in my news feed. I keep in there just so I could keep tabs on them. And it's just like, I get so frustrated because I'm not fucking breaking the law. Your kid is breaking the fucking law. Your kid is the one that's breaking the law, and I am being punished for it. I'm being punished because you can't control your kids, or you can't take enough time to pay attention to your kid who has $125 a week fucking habit. How do you not pay attention to that? You're just dishing your kid money all week, and now you're going to punish me. You're going to go after me because you can't raise your kids right. You can't pay attention to what your kids are doing when they're not at home, and you're not punishing the people that are breaking the law. Guys that's breaking the law in that situation is the fucking store, is the guy who's selling it to them, is the guy who's buying it for them that may be standing out there, the aunt, the uncle, or even the parents. And we talked about this. How do you not punish it? Look, I'll tell you, if I don't, my kids are all grown up, but if my kid used my credit card to buy something online, I know my kid just bought something online. I don't go, oh, that's all right. What'd you buy, son? Oh, I bought a $125 mod and a tank from a vape shop. Is that cool? Quit being the cool parent. Be a fucking parent, dude. I mean,
right. But here's the thing with that. Like I learned this like in the last few years is that schools would catch kids, or even like law enforcement would catch kids. You can't really punish the kids. Like they just don't. They give them a $20 fine. slap on the wrist, and off they go, and say you have to attend this like tobacco addiction class or what have you. You know,
Yeah.
that's their punishment. And okay, they just bought a mod for, as you say, like $100 and what have you. We'll just say grand total of $150. They don't care about the $120, the $20 fine. They will still pay that and keep doing what they're doing because to them that's chump change.
Yeah.
So if you punish more on the end user side, the kids or whoever, if you punish that more, they're gonna stop. If you put that fine up to $500, they're gonna stop. They're not gonna do that shit anymore. Like it's irritating to me. Like I get your point. I totally get it.
Yeah, I this is what 15 years ago, and my son got a ticket for not wearing a helmet, and he had to do more for not wearing that helmet. I had to pay more money out of my own pocket because he didn't have that helmet. He had to go. I had a $50 or $75 fine. I had to make sure he had a helmet on. He had to go to some class for 2 hours, for not having his helmet on. And they and what do? They praise him after they're done. They give him all these stickers. They give him all this stuff to take home. I was like, what the hell? I mean, you guys. I mean, yeah, probably more kids die from not wearing a helmet than vaping, but still, I mean, punish somebody, but just don't punish us. That's the thing. It's like I didn't break the law. I'm over 21 years old. I'm buying something that I chose to use that's helped me in my life. But your kid is breaking the law. He's the one that's going to the store, buying it. Punish the store. Punish the guy that's buying it for them.
Well, that's the thing, man, is a big thing in Washington State. We supported the 21 plus bill. We were like, okay, we're fine with that because we agree. We don't want to see 15, 16. Heck, we don't even really want to see 17 or 18-year-olds, although, there's a fine line there at 18.
Yeah.
But hey, we understand. Well, we want vaping and nicotine altogether out of the hands of minors. We're 100% for this 21 plus because it will, Daniel.
Yeah.
But we supported it 100% because it was sensible. It made sense. It's like, hey, this is something that actually could make a difference, and it did. But when you start to say things like, we're just going to remove flavors because we couldn't tell you why, because kids like flavors. It's
kids. Yeah.
But okay, but we just raised the age. What do you mean kids like flavor? It's illegal for them to use. Yeah. They can't get it unless they do it illegally. So
there's no money. There's no money for enforcing that anymore. So that's what I get told here in California. I said, well, where's all the bus that we used to have in the 80s? I mean, they did it so much in the 80s. It got to the point where you couldn't even go into a liquor store here in Modesto that didn't have all their windows cardboarded to where you couldn't, because after you got busted, they would come and cardboard all your alcohol windows and tobacco, and you don't see that anymore. Sure, I think they changed the law here in California. So if you get caught the first time, I think it's $2,500 fine. If you get caught buying alcohol or tobacco for a minor here, I think it's $2,500, and I think the second time they take your license from you. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty strict. If that doesn't scare someone into not wanting to buy someone a pack of cigarettes, I mean, $2,500 is not chump change. Not a lot of people have an extra $2,500, and I know there's not a lot of people that want to lose their license. Right. So I mean, I don't get it. How much more stricter can you get than that? I mean, parents need to open their fucking eyes. Is basically it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing if I actually appreciate there's not enough resources, because it's a good argument against having them. Having sensible regulation that doesn't require constant checkup, it makes sense. But if you are going to have something that requires constant checkup, then do it. Don't just try to pass another bill the next year that stacks on top of the one from the previous year on top of the next, and then just say, oh, well, we need to keep putting them on there because nothing's working. It's you got to actually try to make something work before you say it's not working.
I mean, you have to make it to the point where the store owner has got to say to himself, is this $8 that I'm going to make off this kid worth it?
Right.
And,
Totally.
and that's the thing. These guys don't care. I mean, it's a sale to them. And I don't know what the markup is on a pack of cigarettes for a shop, but I don't think it's a lot.
Like $1.
Yeah, it's $1. I mean, I know that's not where the stores are making their money. So, you know, they're hoping to get you to come in and buy gas and all that other shit. But I mean, they got to make it to where that shop owner is like, hey, you look a little young. Can I see some ID?
Yep.
Bing. You know?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Stings need to happen 100%. I mean, the thing is, though, what I've seen with these stings is a lot of times they happen because, and I'm going to say something that might be controversial, but we have a lot of competition here in Washington.
Yeah.
And we have other shops calling stings in on neighboring shops.
I could see that.
And then it becomes a feud, man. I won't lie. I've feuded with a few neighbors. I've never called the liquor cannabis board, never called the authorities on any of my neighbors. But, you know, I've had a few that we got pressed hard from the liquor cannabis board because we had a few neighboring shops call, and they couldn't find anything. You know, they couldn't find a thing on us.
It's like the Cheers show, the Bar Wars on Cheers, where you're always fighting that other bar.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, there's things that they can do. I mean, they can even have a system set up to anytime they sell a pack of cigarettes on the register, it automatically asks for an ID. There's things they can do. I mean, there's lots of things they can do.
Yeah, well, that was that thing that I talked about that they were talking about trying to do in England or overseas somewhere where they kind of had, it was like a token system. Like if you walk into a tobacco shop, you effectively have an app on your phone, and then when they ring you up, you know, as a customer in their database, it's going to ask you for like basically the 2-factor authentication number that they punch into the system, which further validates your age. You know, I mean, there are ways that you can combat some of this youth usage stuff. I mean, beyond an ID and then an app that, I mean, it just seems like you could layer it and make it stronger. I just can't believe vape shops are swatting other vape shops. That's kind of funny.
Dude,
yeah. I could see that too, dude, because that's just
I've seen that actually around here. I've seen that we have say like 7 or 8 different vape shops around the town here, but we have a few in particular that like we all talk, like we all know each other, we all talk, and we have a few of them that like one of them for sure that we do know that sells to people who are underage. And you can tell by the crowd that goes in there, you can tell by what's going on. Like, I mean, even if I walk in there and now you can get carded, that's kind of tells me a sign. Like, to me, if you're under 30, I'm still going to card you. Like, I'm sorry, but I still will. That's just the way it is. Like, liquor stores do that all the time. But I know I'm not 30. Well, we're 30. Quit yelling at me. Anyways, I'm sorry. Anyways, So, I mean, if you look at, Dave and Travis, like, who have been to different shops, who have dealt with different people and whatnot, like, you kind of know, like, who's buying for themselves and who's not buying for themselves. You can ask those questions very quickly in a shop and kind of understand, like, what's going on at the time. Like, but you can't not sell to somebody who's of age. If they want something specific, you can't say no to it. You can be really suspicious of it, and you can maybe call it in or what have you. But what choice do you love to have? Like, it's either have that one person buy the thing or give them bad reviews and tell their friends to not shop there. Like, which side do you really want?
Yeah, it's a tough call sometimes for sure. But I ran into that. People who walk in, they're not buying for themselves. I've even asked sometimes, who are you buying for? And they'll be like, my husband. And I'll be like, okay, all right. Yeah.
I've asked that same question.
Got that vape juice.
yeah. I'm looking for mint.
Mint.
I'm like, mint. Like, mint. There's
that stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking for icy melon.
That's the kid
Okay.
one day at the cigarette buying a pack of cigarette. You knew he was underage. He goes, "Yeah, I want the Marlboros in the red box. The red box." I'm just looking at him going, "Okay, buddy."
Right.
First
Well,
time, huh? Okay.
Yeah, it's the same thing in the vape shop. Like in my experience, what I've I used to work at a few of them, and I would talk to the people that used to come in, and some people were like, I just want this, and I would kind of ask you the question like, okay, what are you vaping on? What are you using? And they really didn't have a question or an answer for the question, and so I kind of looked at them like, this isn't for you, is it? They're like, well, no. I'm like, who's this for? Well, it's my mom. And I'm like, well, what does she have?
Yeah.
And they would like start describing it to me. I'm like, oh, she actually has this. Like, how do you know? I'm like, I've been around the block. I kind of know, like, if
I've been doing this for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I can know the device and like I know it's for your mom, I really don't have a question to ask you. But if you come in with a group of people and I say, hey, just your 5 friends, just and the one person steps up to buy stuff, like, hey, I'm gonna need everyone's ID. Well, I don't have it, or it's in my car, or all those excuses. I'm like, I can't have you in here if you don't have your ID. Well, that's dumb. I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but that's the rules.
Yeah.
And so their friend gets left in there, and he doesn't know what to buy anymore. And it's like, well, I kind of know what's going on now. Like, you can't, if you're gonna come in like with a group of friends and then go back and like ask what they want, come back again. I know something's up. Like, just don't do that. It's dumb.
Yeah. Hey, Travis, I want to thank you for coming on. And Dave, you as well. Thanks for jumping in there, guys. We're a little bit over, but I'm glad that I got to see you, Travis.
Yeah, man. Glad to be here. It's been a while. I'm glad I got to pop in every once in a while, man.
Yeah. Hey, share with everybody what you're doing now. You got your
Yeah. So a couple things, man. Like I said, we still got our shop. One of the projects I picked up on the side was doing YouTube. I'm a channel called Techcessory. Do YouTube there. Almost 3,000 subscribers. Been doing it for the last year or two. A lot of people in the vape industry, when they couldn't really post anymore about vaping, moved to like PCs, gaming, all that good stuff.
Except for John.
Except for John, yeah. Well, that's okay. You got into you started doing this, man. You do your sports thing, or you got some stuff going on. But a couple of the guys, I'll name drop him since he was in the industry. I don't know if you remember Gunner. He was pretty big on Instagram for a little while. Big name in vaping. Him and his fiance were really big in vape. Anyways, he's helping me out on YouTube doing this whole thing, and we still got our shop. So we're kicking. We're alive. We're living the dream, and hopefully we can get in an industry that was like this one.
Yeah, YouTube has got their own problems.
It does, man. It does, but they do.
Yeah.
They do. I hope something else comes up and starts to kind of, I don't know, hold their feet over the fire a little bit. But that's a whole nother discussion.
All right, guys. Thank you, everybody. We'll see everybody next Wednesday. Same place, same time, same channels. And look at him just.
Yeah. Thanks, Dave, for coming on. I know it was short notice, but really
Thank you,
appreciate
Dave.
your company.
Yeah.
Hey, no problem, man. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
It was
Thank
fun.
you, Dave. All right, you guys.
All right. And I am going to play the outro. Later, peoples.